Our next storyteller is Gina. Gina is a Tucson native, speech pathologist, wife, and mother of 3 very loud children. But they are here to support her today. She also serves on the board of FIEST, Female Storytellers, and is a regular favorite on the FIEST stage. Please give a warm welcome to Gina.
Thank you. I love this mic. The whole time I was thinking, I get to talk into this mic. I invited my teenagers to come, and because I feel like it's very important for them to be in this context and hear these stories. And the only question they had was if there was food. So we appreciate the red grab bags, and I think we pretty much, I think they have got all the chips so far in the snack bar. Okay. Here we go. We worked in front of a high tabletop, stove, and sink. She expertly chopped onions and green peppers with a dull knife as she chatted quickly and lightheartedly. I, new to the crude but adequate kitchen arrangement, watched as she sauteed the peppers and onions seconds before tossing in her rinsed rice. I enjoyed the sound of moistened rice hitting the hot pan. To my silent horror, she scooped up huge spoonfuls of salt, which she mixed into the rice, adding water. We stood there silent at this point, both in our flip-flops and shorts, she my teacher, this our daily routine. I took up the job of peeling unripened guineos, plantains. My thumbs felt raw under my nails. Yaki, my sister-in-law, had shown me how to cut the bananas down its spine, poking the knife just so as not to cut into the fruit inside. With my fingers, I attempted to pry open the peeling, trying and failing to leave no skin on the still hard fruit before husking the green cascara off. I was slow and inefficient, more than half the time, needing to cut off pieces of the rough peel with a knife. She directed me to toss the fruit, brown to my soiled hands, into boiled water until she eventually found a small pot to boil them. She was 22 to my 29 years of age. Neither of us could have imagined this chance encounter, but due to unexpected life circumstances, I found myself 1,000 miles from home in a small, rural, dusty, humid, hot, lovely town in Honduras. Her hometown, also the birthplace of my husband, William. My little family and I, including my husband, 4-year-old son, Will Jr., and 2-year-old daughter, Ana Luisa, found ourselves as temporary residents as we waited for my husband to be granted permission to re-enter the United States. We were told it could take 6 to 12 months because he had lived illegally for a short time in the Midwest before we met. William, anticipating this challenge, had worked and saved. For the first 6 years of our marriage, he had hid cash in various parts of the house, unknown to me in case of an emergency. For the record, he doesn't do this anymore. Easily accessible and without the hassle of prejudiced bank tellers who frequently had to get supervisor approval before handing him his own money. With this savings, we were able to keep our family together, at least for part of the time it would take for him to be approved for his visa back home. I subsequently became an ama de casa, or a housewife / stay-at-home mom. A role which had never made my, if I could be anything in the world, what would I want to be? I was a working mom. I was a highly educated speech therapist. I chose not to stay home as a wife or with kids. I preached to my friends and my cousins the benefits of working, the autonomy, the independence, of making, the importance of making your own money, etc., etc. Staying home with my kids, never. Until God's plan took me on a completely different trajectory to Central America, to be a full-time mom, completely dependent on my husband for money, transportation, food, in a foreign country with language and cultural differences. Little did I know I was in over my head. And to make matters worse, William decided to return to what he grew up doing, taking care of cattle, an occupation which took him out of the house from dawn to late afternoon on most days. Yaki, my sister-in-law, became my lifeline to the ins and outs of daily life in this small town. She became my companion, my comadre. She helped me with my kids, making sure Will Jr. bathed every night after a day climbing trees and peeling mangoes. She brushed and braided Ana Luisa's curly hair. Together, we hauled water from the pila to our washing machine to save me the daunting, back-breaking task of washing mounds of laundry by hand. She taught me how to hang clothes on the line so they would crease in just the right places. Yaki was willing to do anything to make my life comfortable, with the exception of attending Sunday evening mass with me. Throughout all of our activities, like women, we tended to talk a lot, getting to know everything about each other. She had always had tons of questions to ask me. And your mom, Gina, tell me about her. Do you like it here? When you go back, will you forget me? Always with a wide grin, her full lips smiling over perfect teeth. Sometimes we were interrupted by her husband or mother-in-law, both quick to speak loudly and assertively to her. For an instant, the ease of life would vanish, and she would bow her head, attending whatever household task she was doing. Secretly, she would roll her eyes at me or make faces, then move swiftly to find a new shirt for my brother-in-law or add more salt to our lunch because someone thought it lacked taste. Our conversations initially were superficial. What color do you like? How many siblings do you have? Do you always have short hair? Then as I became more familiar with the town and its inhabitants, she would fill me in on the gossip or talk about other Americans who had visited. As we became closer, our questions became more intimate, my questions more personal. Did you get married because you're going to have a baby? She changed the subject. She would chat about her father who rarely visited and drank often, her mother who cared for her 97-year-old grandmother in a one-room mud hut in the neighborhood up the lane, her brother living in Washington, sent what he could to her family, but considering there were numerous with many requests, he often sent very little. Her other brother, left widowed when his wife gave birth to their second child, a boy named Harold, and his love of hard liquor. The dilemma of raising his kids in his presence, yet in his absence. I nodded, sighed, laughed, and gasped sincerely, concentrating as her rapid Spanish flowed from her mouth, and my brain filling blocks behind. As we spent more time together, she trusted me with more information. Yes, she had gotten married because she got pregnant. She was studying, the first in her family to go so far, and only a year away from earning her diploma. She explained that her school did not allow unwed pregnant girls to attend, so they married. A small affair in the very living room we took turns sweeping every morning. She showed me the pictures, her face serious as she danced with her new husband. The future undetermined but quite clear. She was now a wife, soon to be a mother. Once she showed me her marriage certificate, pulling it out of a manila envelope she kept in the top drawer of her son's dresser, joking sadly that more than once she would have liked to rip it to pieces. In the next breath, offering to show me a humble collection of earrings and bright plastic rings she had collected over the years. We would meet daily to conquer our family duties. Yaki would drag me along to buy groceries for lunch for our huge family. Our kids, Ana Luisa and Jose, tagging along behind us. We followed her lead as she strategically shopped for groceries to save money. Each item was bought at a different pulperia, depending on the price. It also meant walking block after block around town over rocky dirt roads. Tomatoes and potatoes, had to be bought at Nena's, cuquinoyo at Roberto's, especias at Lidia's. When we had many items, she would hold one end of the sack, and I would hold the other to lighten the load. Sometimes with Ana Luisa on one hip because she was too lazy to walk. Once in a while, if we were lucky, our mother-in-law would forget her umbrella, which we would snatch up so we would be shaded on our trek around town. Then back home to cook. If there was enough time to spare, we would take a break. The kids would play with Jose's small amount of cars and farm animals. We would sit on the hammock side by side like two schoolgirls, sharing a Pepsi. Swinging back and forth, chatting about nothing and everything, she would tease me. You never thought you'd be doing this, ¿verdad, Gina? I would respond in agreement. Nunca. Before this trip, the idea of being a stay-at-home mom with my kids had been as foreign to me as boiled green plantains. The time I spent day in and day out with my sole responsibility to raise my kids helped me evolve as their mother. The subtleties of their personalities, things I had not noticed before, became clear. I learned how to read their moods and appreciate the things I previously had found annoying or challenging. I learned how to be the mom and be the confident, unapologetic mom. It couldn't have happened without the support from my young sister-in-law, Yaki. In the 6 months I spent with her, I fell in love with her. My sister's soulmate. She was the rock that held me, that held all us together. This ama de casa, this housewife, this stay-at-home mom. Eventually, the U.S. Embassy in Tegucigalpa called us, informing us William's paperwork had been approved and we could return home to Arizona. I was overwhelmed with relief, but I couldn't help grieving. I knew the future meant seeing Yaki every 1 to 2 years on summer vacations. We enjoyed our final days together doing what we typically did. She would tease like she did. Gina, take me with you. We can hide Jose in your maleta. I'll clean your house and brush Anna's hair. And I would say to her, I don't know, amiga. I'm very picky and I really don't even like Honduran food. Then we'd go back to the crude kitchen to enjoy the last few days we had, and she would put me to work peeling green, unripe bananas. Thank you.